Okay, my friends, another shocker here. I have a footprint right here. And I claim this footprint is in Triassic rock. And I will show you why I make that claim. What is Triassic? First of all, what is Triassic anyway? Triassic is a period of time that was about 50 million years, they claim. 50 million years. And what it is red beds, which are like red muddy beds, capped with chalk, all right, which is, I'll show you chalk in a second, followed by black shale cap. So it's red bed, gray clays, black cap. That's Triassic. Red bed, gray clay, black cap. Let's see if we can find that in my mud fossil right here, which I claim to be from the Triassic period, and I claim that to be a human footprint. And right here, these are the balls of the feet. Literally the balls. You have the same thing. There's a little ridge in the center, and there's little balls. I'm going to show this in good detail, and then with the microscope, because as he was running, this was all wet. See this little crack here? That little slip surface? Hold on, let me put it. I have it dimly lit so you can see the depression of the toes and all that. So let me fire this up so we can see a little better. Now, again, this is the red bed, but now it's at the same height as the gray clay. How could that be? They're supposed to be one on top of the other, millions of years apart. I'm going to show you this all happened on the same day. And I have the black cap that goes on top of this. You see that? That's the black cap. I'm going to show this in super detail, but this came right off. It was a stack like this, and this came right off. All right, remember the red bed. This was supposed to be at the lowest level, the red bed. See, that's red? That's pretty red. And it's just mud. It's nothing more than mud. It's a red, muddy mud. Okay, so that was here. Then the gray clay was originally above it, and it got stepped on and pushed through this mud, which had to be wet at the same time the gray clay came down. Now, then, after that, this big black cap of black shale landed on top, and I believe that's from volcanic activity. And this whole thing came out in one big chunk. I have all the parts that were completely surrounding it. So what happened was the gray clay got pushed down through the red bed. This guy's running like hell to get out of this catastrophe. And I will show you the suck-ups. I'll show you those, and I'll show you the balls of the feet. And I'll spray this down with some water, and we'll start to see all of these different red bed, chalk, and the black shale. Very hard to dismiss. And if this is the Triassic period, this happened in like 24 hours or so. Alright, you got to check this out. This is a human footprint. There's where the heel was. Up here are literally the balls of the feet. This is where the toes ran off and around the front. Now, this guy was running. I'm almost certain of it, because his heel hit here like that, and boom. And when he came back up, there's what I call suck-ups. I'll show them to you in a microscope. And they are, this was wet. The whole thing was wet at one time. All three layers of the Triassic period were wet at the same time. And they're talking about the Triassic is 230 million years ago. This is sitting right on the surface. This was 3,500 years ago. All right, here's where it gets cool. Triassic rock is a red bed, which is this red muddy stuff right here. And I'm telling you, this is as red as it gets. It's red mud. Okay, and what happened? Gray clay, I use it in yellow, but it's a gray clay, chalk they call it. And it's different in different areas, different colors. It's greenish in some areas and so forth. But that lays on top of the red bed. Now, this one though, this is the chalk right here. That's down at the same layer as the red bed. Why? Why would the chalk be down there? Because the guy stepped on it and this was wet. This used to be all one big piece of wet mud. The gray clay falls on top. So now we've got red mud, gray clay, no black cap yet. The guy comes running like hell to get out of this maelstrom, and his foot hits here. No black cap yet. His foot hits here, and it pushes the gray clay down into the same layer as the red bed. It's the only possibility. They had to both be wet at the same time, because this conformed to his foot completely, absolutely flawlessly. And wait till you see how flawless in a microscope. It's unbelievable. And this had to be wet because it pushed right down through it. Then the black cap had to come down on top of this very, very quickly because it sealed it pristinely. This didn't erode at all. It's eroded more in my shop than it did in the 3,500 years it was laying around. I'm pretty sure it was 3,500. Now, so we had the black cap on the top, out of the way that goes. This was gray clay up to here. Pushed it down, and guess what? That gray clay replaced the red bed and is on the bottom. You see it? I don't know, it's some kind of jigsaw puzzle. But you know what's going on there. This was like red bed. This is the gray clay, got pushed down below. There's no other possibility. They all had to be wet at the same time. And now when I show you the details of what this footprint left, you're going to understand that the black cap had to come down within minutes, basically. All right, now that I just put some water on, you should be able to see these suck-ups a little bit better. You see them? Those little dimply looking things. This guy was running and he hit here like this and went. That's what all that little, you see how dimply looking that is? It didn't happen by accident. Let me see, this should home in a second. It takes a while. You see the little dimples? That's where his foot hit, and it was, I call them suck-ups. You see? Alright, and this is the gray clay went down through the red bed. Here's the red bed right here. Alright, you see it right there? There's the red bed. You see that? No, you can't. Alright, you see that's the red bed. This is the gray clay. It got pushed down through the red bed. There's no other explanation. None. Zero. You see that? The gray clay came right down through the red bed. And left a whole batch of suck-ups. This guy was running like hell. He was probably scared to death. I don't blame him. End of the world, run for your life. Yeah. You see that? That's the foot right there. These are the suck-ups all over. And here they are in the microscope. That's about the best I can do from that long distance. I can brighten it up a little bit, but it's quite obvious what you're looking at there. The guy hit the thing and he went, and that's what created those. And if you look at it carefully, I mean, and I've looked at that as careful as anybody could look. And right on the very edges, there's none right here on the very edges because that spot didn't have the suction. See it over there? The suction was in the middle. On the sides, no suction. Let's let it home in a second. Come on, baby. Sometimes it just doesn't home in. It needs some kind of detail, I think. It's got to find some detail. Anyway, there's no suck-ups there. But there is right in the middle there. That's the difference, my friends. So, that's where the heel hit in the back. And these up here is where the toes would have been. And then the black cap went right on top. This is the balls of your feet right there. There's 2 balls of your feet. You see it? You got a little bridge in between them, but the 2 balls are right there. And then your toe, you got a big lump sticking off one side. So that's a human footprint, and that looks like to me it happened exactly at the Triassic spot and caused suck-ups. Okay, once again I got disturbed, but I think I didn't show you this yet. Maybe I did. Both the start and the end of the Triassic are marked by major extinction events. Precisely what Velikovsky says. There was 2 major events. Okay, I'd love to see this tested. This is the black cap. It would be on top of this. Now, somewhere in here is the iridium layer. I believe it would be one of the earliest parts of the erosion because it was the sandy, gritty stuff, which would have the iridium in it. Now, it may be way deep down in here, or it may be this layer here. This is a really flashy looking layer between the footprint and the volcanic activity, which created this black shale. That's my take. This is black shale from volcanic activity. Or maybe the impact of the comet, because they say it's extraterrestrial. So I was thinking at first it was in the grip skin, because iridium it's an element. It's got to be here somewhere, and there's almost none on Earth, they say, and it's 100 times more concentrated in this particular layer. Here's what it says: iridium is a very rare element in Earth's crust. It is found anomalously high concentrations, 100 times greater than normal, in a thin worldwide layer of clay, which is this stuff, marking the boundary between the Cretaceous and Paleogene periods 66 million years ago. And it's marked by a major extinction event, yes, yes, absolutely, including that of the dinosaurs, along with 70% of all other species. The clay layer also contains small grains of shocked quartz and in some places small weathered glass beads, thought to be tektites. Well, I'd like to see what they're looking at, but there's no reason we wouldn't have glass beads. We were almost impacted by Venus. This was all recorded in every single culture. The feared god Jupiter gave birth to the fiery comet, which turned out to end up being Venus. And it almost hit us. Velikovsky did all this, and he's going to be the hero now of everything, history and the whole 9 yards. He's the one that took the brunt of this and died in disgrace, and you probably never heard his name before, unless you're been looking at me, or there's a few other people talking about him. But he, I wrote a book about him quite a while, well, 5, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, and how mistreated he was. And if you look up the Velikovsky account and the Velikovsky affair, it was terrible. They made him take his book off the bookshelves in 1950 because it was so successful. It was on a bestseller list 11 weeks in a row. It talks exactly about this interaction between us and Venus causing this event on Earth, which was the Great Flood, and it literally cooked the oceans. They boiled. That's what it says. Now, I don't know if it was everywhere on Earth, but it was definitely in a lot of places. In my place, everything here is absolutely flawless, and I can understand all the whole 9 yards of how it happened. And I've shown it so deeply in detail, and DNA tests and giants and everything that you could possibly want. And now I'm talking about the geology of the time frame. So let's get into the time. They're talking 66 million years ago. I say no. Velikovsky said it was 3,500 years ago. And there was 2 extinction events, which they claim, they do say there was 2 within a certain period. They give like 50 million years between them or something. But, Velikovsky gives a few hundred years apart, which Venus went and almost hit us and then came back around and caused another catastrophe, which apparently wasn't quite as bad. But the first one wiped out all the giant stuff. Now, I don't know if I mentioned this, but this just came out today, how Harvard researchers are talking about global warming spawned the age of reptiles. Well, they're thinking probably flooding and so forth. I'm not going to make any statements on their side of it, but I can tell you what wiped out all the biggest creatures. Dinosaurs were not the biggest creatures. You know, the more I look at it, the more I think that might be the case that the iridium came from space, because I think it might have been laid right on top of the guy's footprint. And then the black shale came, which would have maybe come down from either volcanoes or from the combustion of the skies. And whatever is in the skies is going to combust into whatever it is. Whether it could have created iridium, I don't know. But whether the iridium is here would mean it was extraterrestrial. I'll go along with that. If the iridium is in the mud or in the clays, I say no. And they say, because then it would be from the eroded flesh. If it was right on the top of all the eroded flesh, because this black cap stuff I don't think is body tissue. This is something else. This is volcanic eruptions, something that causes this black shale. That is not, I don't think, well, I can look at it closer. I didn't really look at it close enough to make a determination. I see some red in there, whether, I'll have to take a look at it. We'll take a look at it in a microscope and see. But I think this came down from fallout. Landed right on top of this. Sealed everything together. And it all came up in one big chunk. Okay, so you saw what I had to show you. There's a thing going around, it's called wokeness, being woke. And that means being aware of and actively attentive to important facts and issues. Now, they relate a lot of it to politics, racial, social injustice, and all that, and I do too. And trust me, I am quite woke. Watch this now.
Hildegard College is a Christian liberal arts school opening next fall in Southern California. Matthew Smith is the founder and joins us now. Matthew, thank you so much for being here. This is wonderful to see. Tell us about Hildegard and why you're starting it.
It's good to be with you, Pete. Hildegard College is a new college in Southern California devoted to the classics. We offer a single degree where students study the greatest works of philosophy, literature, economics, politics, science, and math. And we combine it with a concentration in entrepreneurship, where students study the meaning of work and gain industry experience in business, nonprofit, and the arts. Our model is a different kind of model, so we're not just another college. We think that universities really need a reset. And so we offer a single degree. We cost about a quarter of that of the tuition of an average private university, and we're free of federal funds for student tuition.
So kids will leave with actual knowledge and without being saddled with student debt. That's the idea. And by the way, when do you open, and how do people check out this college?
Classes begin fall of 2023. Our application opens next month. You can go to www.hildegard.college to sign up on our mailing list, to get updates, to learn news, to support the school, and then ultimately to encourage your friends to have their children apply.
It's exactly what we need in alternate.
Okay, he's right. Exactly. We need something very similar to that. Now, I don't follow any of these things. Somebody sent me this Fox News thing, and I'm going to try to get a hold of them, see if Hildegard College is interested in my stuff. All right, I'm just going to leave it at this. Stay tuned to all these things. This is Harvard's new claim about the rise of the dinosaurs. It's completely wrong. This is a brand new look at the eternal knowledge of the ancients. It's about Devil's Tower's formation, and I get into energy and hydrogen and light and space and, you know, black holes and everything you can ever think of. And we did the actual research, not just guesses here. Everything I do is material, 100% material evidence. I don't do anything that has nothing to support it. And that's what I find in academia is the norm. Nothing to support whatever they say. And they just make all these big claims, and they say, well, yeah, but I went to Harvard, I went to Yale, that's why I can say all this stuff. And they can say it. Nobody stops them because they're so educated. Doesn't matter what they say. Well, time to change that. And this guy, I'm hoping, you know, it's known, it's understood now. It's just that they're having a hard time figuring out how they're going to maintain control and acquiesce to reality. That's the problem. And if they don't do it soon, if I was a student, I would want my money back. I got to tell you the honest truth. I would say I want my money back. Now, when I say that, if they're teaching you, some real skill, that's altogether different than saying you have to have this core curriculum, which talks about the history of the earth, the geology of the earth, the anthropology, all of that is wrong. It's totally wrong. So that's their core curriculum. They say, hey, you have to have that before you can come on to become smart. That you got to become stupid to become smart.